Oh, hey kids. No, you're about to listen to a comedy podcast. That means, okay, that none of this is medical advice. If you need medical advice or medical care, please contact your doctor.
Bienvenido al podcast de Jock con el Dr. London Smith. El único podcast de comedia de improvisación médica completamente en inglés. Presentamos a su anfitrión, el Dr. London Smith.
Hello, and welcome to the Jock podcast, where we discuss fitness and health, and how to incorporate our modern understanding of science and medicine into our daily lives, but without it being so boring. I'm your host, drlondonsmith.com. I'd like to begin by apologizing to our listeners. Aww. We've received some feedback about the excessive amount of technical medical terms that I've been using, such as calcium pyrophosphate dihydrate crystal arthritis and unpleasant disposition. So I will try to temper my terminology to a simpler one in the future. Here to help with that is our producer, Cameron.
Hey, Dr. London, you're here early. The party's not till noon.
Okay, so Cameron, we're doing the podcast right now. I don't know if did you plan some event at the same time?
Oh, is that today?
Yeah, no, it's.
You don't want to do the podcast every week, right? We already did it though. We did it last week.
No, okay. So I feel like we do run into this problem a lot. When we do the podcast, that doesn't mean it's done. That means one episode.
It's done. It's over.
So one episode was over. But like at the end of the episode, whenever we said, this has been the Jock podcast.
Oh, so this is sort of a sequel to last week's episode.
Yes.
In a sense, yeah. But then, the week before that, we also had an episode.
It was sort of a prequel to last week's episode.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. But then before that, we also had an episode. I don't know if you remember that one.
Yeah. So sort of like how there were 3 Hobbit movies, which was a prequel series.
Okay. If you want to... Sure.
You're saying that what we recorded last week is it being expanded into a 30 movie universe. Is that what I'm getting? This is all beside the point. Why are you here? You're here early.
Yeah, so I'm here because we're recording the podcast. This is the scheduled time every week. We get into the boat. We drive out.
Yeah. Well, I get that. I feel bad. I was setting everything up. I mean, you can look at the decorations. I've kind of been here for a few hours now, setting.
Yeah. So it says, well, you're describing it as a party. It says intervention in big letters. Is that?
Well, this is actually
theme?
This is actually, I need to take that down because that's from a previous party.
Okay.
This is sort of I would say the sequel to that party.
Which is like someone kind of they fell back into old habits.
You could say that. It's a gender reveal party for my pythons.
Just to say, I feel like my guess was pretty wrong. But, okay, so...
I would say it was pretty close, but yeah.
Okay, so you're pythons.
So after the last intervention, we were all hanging out drinking, and so someone started passing around these pythons. Kind of like everyone gets one, you know what I mean? Kind of thing.
Like a gift basket at the end?
Except
this is during?
Yeah, it's not in a basket. It was loose,
okay.
So you had to kind of fumble around with it. You could put it in a blanket. You could do whatever you want with it. It's your own snake. You can do whatever you want. I'm not here to tell people what to do with their pet snakes. So anyway, one thing led to another, and now we're having a gender reveal party. And we're doing it, I think, in the most snaky, I guess, way possible.
So, during a podcast recording is what you think is the most snaky?
No, because this is just coincidental.
Okay.
This is just, you got the invite. We're going to paint one of your legs blue and one of your legs pink.
And then whichever one I kick.
No, whichever one the snake goes for. That's it.
Right. Okay, right.
This is all on the invite. The invite was huge. I mean, it was like a manual.
I think that the problem with the invite was that, because it was so huge, it was a wall. And so for me, it was more, I kept on, because you put it in front of the house and lean it against the house. And so for me to leave, it was stuck, keeping the door shut. So I had to actually use an alternate exit to the house. And so that part became unusable. So I didn't read it. I didn't realize that was, you sent that to everyone?
No, because not everyone had the special instructions.
Okay.
Yours was 130. Your invite came in the form of a 135-page manual.
Yeah, which
that
you
was
pasted
gigantic.
Each page across a series of, I don't know what structural.
The invitation explained you need to paint your legs and you need to show up at noon. And then I repeat that in a bunch of different languages. That's why it's 135 pages. It's really only one page of information.
Yeah, you know that I speak English though, correct?
You're doing so well with it too. It's gotten so much better.
Okay, well, and this may shock you, but English is actually my first language.
Wow.
And that you consider that's really cool. And you've grown so much.
Right. Okay.
From the sort of babbling nonsense language that you spoke in for a few, many years.
Are you just talking about the medical lessons? Whenever you say weird language?
Yeah, when you're like a blobbity bloobity and your stethoscopy and lungy cancery, and you're saying all these like kind of fun sounding words that I'm sure are like really fun to say.
In my culture, you mean?
One thing that's important to know about language is that you're trying to convey information, not just fun noises and sounds.
Okay.
And that's something that you're developing. You're still a growing boy. You're developing.
Okay. Well, anyway, great. So I guess, just to clarify for our listeners and for you, so this is a podcast recording, and I guess at the same time, maybe there might be a gender reveal party for your pythons. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's our producer, Cameron. Also with us is Digital in the House. Digital in the House. I'm your host, Dr. LondonSmith.com. And you know that I speak English, though, correct?
Calcium pyrophosphate dihydrate crystal arthritis.
Calcium pyrophosphate dihydrate crystal arthritis. Calcium pyrophosphate dihydrate crystal arthritis. Calcium pyrophosphate dihydrate crystal arthritis. You know that I speak English, though, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Say what?
Presentamos a su anfitrión, el Dr. London Smith.
Young.
And later, Cameron tells us we can expect a special guest, a nutritionist of sorts. Is that right?
That's right, Dr. London.
Oh, great.
Can you say that word? Is that
Nutritionist? I'm sorry.
you're doing the babbling thing again. I couldn't make out what you were saying. You were going blah 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 blah, blah nutritional blah blah.
I'm sorry.
It's fun. It's really cute. It's fun. But it's not language.
Okay. Well, but before we move on, I would like to address a bit of listener feedback. So I saw this note strapped to the chest of a man who walked into the bank, and the man was sweating and crying excessively, and he had other sort of bulky stuff strapped to him too. And then the bank teller gave him so much money. Anyway, so the note strapped to his chest, it said, quote, "Hi, Jorge. Perhaps you can spend time with my son." Oh, sorry. It was Jorge. Georgia? Jorge. "Perhaps you can spend time with my son, Harold. He says he needs to borrow some sugar from a mommy." End quote. I'm sorry. I didn't read that quite well enough. But anyway, first of all, I'd like to thank you so much for reaching out to us here at the Jock Dog Podcast.
So this listener is asking you for mommy sugar?
Well, to spend time with their son, Harold, who needs to borrow some sugar from a mommy.
Oh.
So,
okay, so I think it's kind of understandable what's happening here. Your voice was the first thing that this child heard. And so it sort of had an imprinting effect where everyone thinks that you're his mommy.
So you think the thing that imprinting, which happens with ducks, you think that
mm-hmm.
somehow, which normally does not apply
ducks
to humans.
and was a plot point in the Twilight series, I think.
Right.
Yes.
Remember he imprinted on a baby?
You'd think I would have kept up with it, but the series did lose my interest at a certain point. But in any case, so I guess I could spend time with this person's son Harold. I don't think I have any sugar from a mommy.
I mean, what if this is what if it's like a Make-A-Wish thing? You know what I mean? Like, what, you don't want to help this kid?
Yeah, so I guess I'll...
Why do you hate fixing people so much?
Maybe I'll ask for sugar from a mother and then take that, bag or cup of sugar to Harold?
To your child.
And then...
the child that has chosen you as a parent.
Okay.
Through the, miracle
of imprinting, which is very much the thing that applies to ducks and normally not humans. But maybe Harold is unique. Maybe Harold is a duck. I'm not sure. In any case,
that's ridiculous.
Thank you so much for reaching out to us here at the Jock Talk Podcast. But now for today's medical topic, pulmonary embolism. So consider pulmonary embolism, which is often shortened to just PE, and deep venous thrombosis, which is known as a DVT. So those are a continuum of one clinical entity called venous thromboembolism. So basically, a DVT is when a blood clot is formed somewhere in the body, and if that clot dislodges, travels through the veins...
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry?
Is this... You're doing it again. You're just talking about how English is your first language, and you're doing it.
So this is medicine. I'm using... I feel like I've really tried to simplify the terminology. Like I say at the beginning of the episode.
I'm really struggling to explain this in a clearer way. Let me think. You know how when I say, "Do you want to go outside?" It's sort of I'm asking a question, and then you say, and then I'll let you outside. See, the words I'm making are not fun sounds. They convey information.
Okay.
What you're doing is nonsense. All right. Do whatever you got to do, but here we got to speed it up, all right?
Okay, so
every time we're going to turn this medical lesson into a game. Is that okay?
Sure, yeah, anything to keep the listeners engaged,
Every time you hear Avril Lavigne's voice, you need to start speaking faster.
Okay.
Have you ever seen those videos where it's like B movie, but every time they say B, it doubles the speed?
No, but that...
It's like an old meme-y type thing,
okay.
Right? So we're just going to do that with your fun babbly noises.
Okay.
Sure,
so...
Ready?
Yeah, so if that clot dislodges, travels through the veins into the heart, then it is pumped into the pulmonary veins, and that's where it finally plugs up arteries, and that event is pulmonary embolism, or PE. That means that ventilation, which is breathing, may be working fine, but perfusion, which is blood flow within the lungs, is compromised, so patients can be breathing all they want, but no gas exchange takes place. It's no surprise, then, that diagnosing DVT is an indication for treatment. Clinically, the presentation of pulmonary embolism depends on the severity in terms of just how much blood flow is stopped. Patients can have difficulty breathing, pleuritic chest pain, which is chest pain when taking breath, cough, hemoptysis, even syncope or passing out if it is a large PE. Clinical signs include tachypnea, which is increased breathing, rales, tachycardia, and passive PE. Other possible signs include low-grade fever, decreased breath sounds, and dullness on percussion. The workup for suspected PE is based on pretest...
Do it in a high-pitched voice.
It's based on pretest probability, so the modified Wells criteria is a scoring system that helps guide this process, directing one towards a D-dimer test and a low probability, towards a CTA if a PE is likely. We don't have time to go into Wells criteria right now because, not enough time. But feel free to look that up. To diagnose, one may try to get ABG.
Canadian accent.
In an accent?
Yes.
Canadian.
Sorry. To diagnose, one may want to get ABG levels, which would show low PaO2 and low CO2, the latter due to hyperventilation and high pH. Sorry. Chest x-ray is usually normal. As I said, D-dimer assay is another test that can be used, testing for the leftover products that occur after a clot dislodges, so it can be elevated in patients with PE and DVT. If the D-dimer results are normal and clinical suspicion is low, PE is very unlikely. It can be elevated in other conditions, though, so it is not specific on its own. Clinical suspicion is high, however, the first diagnostic step in a suspected PE is a venous duplex ultrasound of the lower extremities, since a DVT typically happens here. If there's a positive result, treat with IV anticoagulation with like heparin. Bear in mind, though, that although this test is very helpful when positive, it is of little value when negative, as half of patients with PE may show negative. The next clinical diagnostic step would be CT angiography, which has been found to be a good sensitivity of over 90% in specificity. This is the test of choice in most medical centers, but CTA cannot be performed in patients with significant renal insufficiency because of IV contrast that is required. Although CTA is the usual test of choice, pulmonary angiography is the gold standard. However, it is invasive, so is not done as frequently. Treatment for pulmonary embolism includes supplemental oxygen to treat hypoxemia and intubation with mechanical ventilation if it is severe enough. Am I doing good? Are we tracking?
Oh, I stopped paying attention long
well,
ago.
I'm glad that you're paying attention.
I'm just watching these Avril Lavigne videos now.
Okay. So, also acute anticoagulation therapy with either unfractionated or low molecular weight heparin to prevent another PE can be used. Anticoagulation prevents further clot formation, but does not lyse existing emboli or diminish the current thrombus size. So, in other words, this is just to prevent the next PE from happening, not the one that is currently happening. Start that anticoagulation immediately on the basis of clinical suspicion. If clinical suspicion for PE is high, contraindications to heparin include, of course, active breathing, uncontrolled hypertension, recent stroke, or heparin-induced thrombocytopenia. Oral anticoagulation like warfarin or one of the novel oral anticoagulants can be used for long-term treatment with a heparin bridge. Though it has not been shown...
Irish.
Though it has not been shown to improve mortality rates in patients with PE, one may consider thrombolytic therapy with streptokinase or TPA in patients with massive PE who are hemodynamically unstable or have evidence of heart failure. Another option is inferior vena cava.
Like a bee.
Like a bee?
Yeah, like a bee.
Like buzzing bee?
Yeah, I
I
guess.
just want to make sure. Okay. Another option is inferior vena cava interruption with IVC filter placement, which has been more commonly done, but reduction in mortality has not been exclusively demonstrated. Patients who have an IVC filter placed are at higher risk.
Read it like you hit someone with your car on the way to the studio and you kept driving. And that's a secret you have and that you don't want anyone to know about. Just be informed.
Yeah, okay,
that,
okay.
You know?
Patients who have IVC filter placed are at higher risk of recurrent DVT, but at lower risk of recurrent PE. This intervention can be used in patients in which anticoagulation is contraindicated. And finally, the surgical thrombectomy can be considered in patients with hemodynamic compromise, a large proximal thrombus, and who are poor candidates for fibrinolytics. Does that...
Wow, I think I learned a lot from that.
Good, yeah, no, it's pulmonary embolism's very high yield, very important topic that, it can be life-saving to be...
Well, and it sort of reminds me of the artist Bon Iver, known as Justin Vernon, and how he sort of developed this way of writing where he moved away from traditional lyricism and moved towards just picking specific words that are announced specific ways and sort of morphed together in an aesthetically pleasing way, right? So the lyrics a lot of times don't necessarily mean anything, but they're really fun to listen to, and that way babies can listen to it, just like this show and your medical lessons.
Yes.
Okay, well, great to start education at a young age, so having a baby listen to that might be useful. I feel like it is more for, medical students.
Did you get it out of your system, though?
No, I'm finished.
Okay.
Especially that thinking about hitting a person with a car.
And carrying that secret.
Yeah.
That's gotta be tough.
Yeah, we can move on from there. All right, Cameron said that we have a guest today. Is that right?
That's right, Dr. London. We have a first-time guest. But you know what? I think this might be one of the most special guests that we've ever had. Now, I'm bringing that back. If you remember I was banned from calling every single guest the most special guest that we've ever had.
Yeah, well, the lawsuit.
Because you said it was misleading, and there was the
slander and
libel lawsuit about it. It was a joint lawsuit from all of our previous guests complaining that they were told they were the most special guest of all time. This is not that situation. This is the most special guest we've ever had. I've never spoken to them, and I don't know who they are. But they're here.
Which is about as much research as you usually do. So, okay. Well, anyway, yeah, before I introduce... hello there. My name is drlondonsmith.com, and this is our producer, Cameron.
Hi.
Hi, Dr. London. Hi, producer Cam. I am Associate Melanie Jooce. I am a nutritionist and a intuitive empath.
Oh.
Okay. Wow.
So, I mean, can you feel what I'm feeling right now?
Not quite. I mean, I would need to get to know you a little bit more. I would need to hear about, the coordinates and time of your birth and things like that.
Okay.
But if you have any medical issues, my gift allows me to figure out what it is you should be eating and drinking to help cure whatever ailment you might have.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
I'm glad that you're not feeling exactly what I'm feeling right now, because I feel terrible. I feel awful.
What?
It sucks. And so I
I'm
just
picking
don't
up on that.
don't want that for you.
No, I'm picking up on it. But don't worry, I can, shield myself from feeling what you're feeling, but I can let you in and know intuitively what it is that you're feeling.
It's just like everything smells like burnt toast. My left arm is numb. I feel terrible, right? I think I honestly do think it's a dietary thing.
Yes. Absolutely. I know exactly what it is you need, and that, my friend, is celery juice.
Okay.
Dr. London, you don't seem sold on the celery juice. Why? It's celery.
No, you say it like it's like I had a huge problem with it. No, it's just so what Cameron, it sounded like he was describing was sort of the classic stroke and heart attack symptoms of smelling burnt toast is like kind of just known generally as a stroke thing, and then the left arm numbness, and I'm guessing chest pain, Cameron.
Let me feel. Yeah, I think there's chest pain.
Okay.
See, that's just probably from a buildup of toxins. And I know, and if you can get on the right diet, you can cleanse yourself of those toxins. The things in the American diet today are horrendous. Would you agree, Dr. London?
Yeah. There's a lot of processed foods, a lot of very fatty foods, especially in the American diet. And Cameron, I would say, he doesn't hold to the conventional American diet. In the healthy ways.
Well, and there's a lot of foods that I keep dropping, which which has sort of been an awful epidemic that's sort of plagued America for a long time. Is these slippery foods?
Well, you. Okay.
You mean dropping on the floor?
Yeah, they're too slippery. Everything is. Look at my hands are soaked because everything is so slippery all the time.
Greasy foods, yeah. That is
hydrolyzed fats. Disgusting.
I don't know. It just food's too slippery these days. It's become an issue. But I mean, what are you suggesting with the celery juice? So that sounds like a fun drink to have. What about for the meal?
That is part of the meal. Every day you wake up, you have a glass of water with lemon, then you juice in a juicer an entire stalk of celery. And I actually have a line of juicers that I could send you a link to that you can buy free of shipping, and those will fix you right up. So you drink a celery stalk every day. You don't want any of the particles. You want it on an empty stomach, nothing but water and lemon, celery juice, and then you make what I call the metal detox smoothie, which contains seaweed from the North Atlantic Ocean, and that is going to help with the toxins.
Yeah, that sounds amazing, and I do feel very toxic lately.
Exactly.
I've been online, and the things I've been saying are terrible. and I don't know why I keep doing it. And so I just want these toxins out.
That will help with online trolling. I have a whole chapter in my book all about that.
Oh, you have a book as well.
I do. I have 3 books with lots of smoothie recipes, and I have, as I mentioned, a line of juicers for you to juice your own celery. And I also own a farm that produces celery that you can also get your celery from.
So when you were saying you're going to send me a link to a place where I can get a juicer, it was to your website where you are selling juicers.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that just sounds convenient and like a good business. Like you own every level of the process.
Exactly. And, I want it to just be kind of a one-stop shop because you don't want to be following all kinds of links. You just want one link to one place where you can become healed.
You want to be able to integrate these systems vertically, one would say.
I don't know what you mean by that, but yes.
Dr. London, I mean, what is this dumb face you have on your face?
Well, just the fact that for me, it's kind of a cool breakthrough that something that you say is not understandable to someone else on a similar level to what you claim that, my words sound like. It's just a little, it's kind of a goodie for me. But so what I'm wondering about the celery diet, you've only mentioned celery so far. And I'm not sure if you're aware of
and water was involved, I believe.
Sorry, lemon and water. Okay. So that, you try to get fruits and vegetables, which it sounds like you're covering some of those. But then, grains.
Oh, no.
Ooh, oh, what? Are grains, I mean, is that bad for me?
It's bad for everyone,
Oh,
Cameron,
no.
and I'll tell you why. It's that we are human beings who, for the longest time on this earth, ate fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables, that's it. And that is what our bodies have evolutionized to take in. And we're not built for all this hydrolyzed fat or meat or icky things like grain. We are made to process pure foods.
This is really alarming to me because I had a ton of wheat earlier. Like a just absurd, unbelievable amount of just raw wheat.
And how do you feel?
Terrible. My left arm is numb. It's these toxins attacking my body. Now that you've opened my eyes to this, I can see it. It's almost like in an example of a movie that might exist where something happens and then someone can see something better. If you could think of an example of a movie where that happens, it would be just like that.
You are correct, Producer Cameron. And me, Associate Melanie Jooce, which is the name of my brand of juice.
I'm sorry, is Associate your first name then? And you're going by your full name here?
No, doctor, just as you go by the term doctor, I go by associate to reflect my level of education.
Oh,
so you have
wow.
an associate's degree.
I do, in nutrition. Yes, very recent. I just got my certificate in the mail because,
Okay.
COVID. We couldn't have a real graduation.
Sure.
But yeah.
So it's 2 years of sort of, usually isn't it more like preliminary courses and the, sort of you cover your basics and like I'm assuming
Well,
you
there's
had
probably
history
electives
classes.
too.
Oh, yeah, I took surfing as an elective. Isn't that fun?
Yeah. So, I mean, think of this. I really apologize for Dr. London's behavior. He is more of a, how would you say, book learner type. He doesn't vibe well with people who learn it on the streets and learn it from experience in real life, like yourself. I can tell that you've had a full life. And Dr. London, he's got his head in his books, and he's like, oh, but what does this say? And what does that say? And 2 + 2, who decides what that is? All these things.
Right. And let me tell you, you seem to really get me, Producer Cameron. Yep. And my knowledge really is from the streets, from myself. I grew up with a terrible disease called eczema.
Oh.
And when I had eczema, which I don't anymore, I do not have it. And you know what cured me, Cameron, was the celery juice. I also was on a regimen of steroid cream, but at the same time was juicing a whole stalk of celery from my farm every day, and I was cured.
Wow. That's incredible. I mean, Dr. London, have you ever even cured anyone in your entire life?
Nope.
Like, cure isn't really the word that I usually use for any of it, but like you treat and then people recover. Yeah, like eczema usually, I feel like the steroids, the glucocorticoids, whatever, might have been more helpful. And I just want to clarify something before Cameron goes off on it. So eczema isn't eggs with a mature rating. It isn't eczema. It's eczema is a skin condition.
Yeah, eczema is I think there's only 2 types of mammals that also lay eggs. Platypus and an echidna.
Yeah. What is an echidna?
Oh, it's like a platypus.
Oh, so
in that they're both eczema.
Mm-hmm. And that is what I said, Dr. London. Eczema.
Right. Okay. Anyways, I did want to just clarify that. So what I'm seeing as an issue is that you can have some, depending on what vitamins you're getting from that food, it sounds like you might be deficient in some vitamins and, maybe not getting enough protein.
Deficient. What language?
Okay.
Wow.
So this is another, because
Dr. London, stop bullying our guests.
Okay.
He wants to tell me I'm deficient. Oh, okay, I'm deficient.
I haven't read all the books that you have with your expensive schools, and so thusly I can't think for my own.
Right, and it sounds like, Cameron, what you said about Dr. London is he's deficient in street smarts. Huh? What do you think about that, Dr. London?
Wow.
Yeah, okay, so it does sound like you understood the word. You've
got SSD, street smarts deficiency.
I hereby, with my associate's degree, diagnose you, Dr. London, with a deficiency in street smarts.
Boom. This is, wow. Breaking the story wide open.
So, and I'm sorry to turn the attention away from me, but Miss Associate Melanie Jooce, if I could ask, how long have you been using this particular diet? How long have you been on it?
About 3 years now. So take that, vitamins.
Yeah.
I take celery and seaweed from the North Atlantic Ocean.
And lemon every once in a while.
Yes, every day.
So I guess my question to you is, let's say for a second that sure you're fine, but do you have numbness in your hands or feet?
Define numbness.
It's kind of like what.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it's kind of like what Cameron described in his arm. It's where you can't feel with your hands or feet to some extent.
Well, I've never been able to feel with my hands or feet.
Wow.
Okay. So that's not the usual response that I get. So let's say that you touch. I'm going to try to think of it simply. Say that you try to touch something with your hand. Okay. Like, let's say you touch.
I'm kind of following.
Okay. So
I'm really sorry if he's speaking in this kind of like weird.
It's like code, isn't it? It's like
it's
hieroglyphics.
It's a little secret language that he has with his little friends, so they can tell their little secrets.
Okay.
And I don't like it.
Okay, I think I have an example for you. Okay, so you have your celery, and you're grabbing your celery with your hand. Can you feel it whenever you do that? Can you feel that you have the object in your hand?
There's not much to feel on celery. It's just, it's kind of like
it can be a waste of time, right? It'd be like a waste of time because it's like there's not even anything there to feel. So
right.
Like, why am I going to be like paying so much attention to feeling the celery and like?
Right. I mean, if I put the celery stalk on my leg when I've taken it out of the fridge, then it's cold.
Okay.
I can
feel
that
something
on my leg.
Yeah. And can you feel that, on your toe? I guess you don't put it on your toe, probably. I'm just wondering because your cold and heat, or your temperature and pain sensations are with a different group of nerves. And so I'm just trying to figure out maybe if there could be a problem with your current diet.
Why are you trying to poke holes in her entire system?
Yeah, are you trying to say I'm hand and foot deficient?
Yeah, what are you even trying to do? I don't understand what your angle is here, Dr. London.
So I'm wondering if she has peripheral neuropathy.
Are you selling like a competing juicer? Is that what this is about or something?
Oh, do you have a line of juicers, doctor?
No. Okay, you know what? We can table what I was saying there, and
I did have a question. Do I have to raise my hand if I have a question?
I will call on you. Yes, Cameron, you may ask your question.
So I do already have a juicer. Will your celery work in my juicer, or should I just go ahead and order a couple of years to be safe?
I think you should go ahead. Well, the thing is, celery doesn't keep great, so you have to have a weekly shipment coming in. And if your blades on your juicer are not new and sharp, you may need a whole new juicer. And I sell those.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Because like the juicer, it makes juice, but like I don't know if it's getting all of the antioxidants into my juice. You know what I mean?
Exactly, and you can't just if we're going back to the lemons, you can't just buy lemon juice at the store. You need a fresh lemon because you need the insides of that lemon to be alive.
Wow, yeah, and so I mean, do you like have a lemon tree?
Of course I do. I sell lemons.
Nice.
My lemon line is called Lil Lucy's Lemons.
Oh wow. Okay,
so not named after you then.
No, Lucy is, it's my middle name.
Okay. Right. That clarifies that confusion earlier. So your title is Associate, and it's Melanie Lucy Jooce.
Yes, Associate Melanie Lucy Jooce.
Okay. Lucy Jooce. Okay.
I mean, Dr. London, I don't, you seem very antagonistic about this. All she's doing is she's telling people, eat your vegetables and a little bit of fruit juice, and you'll be good.
Do you see how limiting that is?
Why is that bad?
So so good things about it. Okay. Celery. You'll get some fiber from that. It's a very hydrating vegetable, and so that's great. With the lemons, you'll get that's a great way to prevent scurvy. So that's a lot of vitamin C, and it also has other vitamins in it. But there are certain vitamins that you cannot get from these things. And I'm worried about the amount of protein that you get. And, the building blocks basically for, let's say...
Well, I think that's is that a toxin?
Which one?
Protein?
Protein is toxic, okay?
Oh.
People at the beginning of time were not killing and eating animals. They were surviving on leaves and berries, okay?
So I should clarify. So leaves and berries, depending on what, like lettuce leaves, those kind of things, those can have amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein. So it's not like those are bad across the board, but you're missing out on some things like a big dose of protein, and then also you're thinking iron. Like, you look very pale and you seem kind of woozy, and I can't help but think that might be connected to the fact that you've been on this diet for so long.
This is what all you doctors tell me all the time. Oh, you're pale. Oh, you can't feel your hands and feet. Oh,
he's just trying to sell a product. You know what I mean? He's trying to push drugs onto you.
Exactly. He's trying to big pharma, just throwing big pharma in my face when I really just need some fresh fruits and veggies. And you know what? I think I've solved the hand thing that you're talking about, because I burned off all the fingerprints on my hand years ago on a stove. I just put my hands down on the stove, didn't notice, and now I have no fingerprints.
So, I'm sorry, so years ago, so usually the timeline is once you begin one of these diets that may be lacking in certain vitamins, it's about 2 years of storage in your liver that you have. Maybe you started another diet before then, but anyways. So I guess the point.
That's an interesting question. Is this you're the first sort of diet that you've been on?
No, before this one, I was actually eating a diet of wild blueberries, very, very important that they're wild and not grown.
No pesticides.
No pesticides, no human planted the plant. It has to be just wild natural blueberries. And I was eating that, and a lot of pomegranate juice. So that was that.
Okay, you say it wild. Did you, maybe this is a strange question, and, do correct me on this if I'm wrong. Did you live in the wild? Like, were you out in sort of a rural place where this was easily accessible?
Well, I wasn't going to talk about this on here, but I guess now I have to.
Oh, no.
I was kicked out of my house for having eczema. And I had to live in the wild amongst the elk. The elk took me in and introduced me to wild blueberries. And that's how I got on my nutrition kick. Is I realized once I started eating these wild blueberries, this celery, my eczema, along with a small regimen of topical steroids, cured me.
And so at that point you said goodbye to the elk and you invented a juicer.
Yes.
That's an amazing story.
Thank you. I really am a wonder of nature.
Yeah.
Dr. Lennon, what are you struggling with? It's just, I don't understand what your issue, why you keep taking so much issue with someone who is as healthy as our guest.
Yeah, it's just there are so many things that, like, so you were raised by elk for a period of your life.
Yes.
Okay, so that's, I think that's a less controversial thing to discuss. That's something that, maybe I won't be as concerned with giving our listeners some information I wouldn't want. So maybe let's...
Do elk eat celery?
They do, yes. Whenever they can find it.
How long did you spend with the elk?
8 years.
Okay, so you were kicked out whenever you were diagnosed with eczema. So what?
Yeah, my mom said, "I will not have no daughter with eczema. Get out!
Oh.
Get out! Get!" She said,
and
"Get."
We hear about this epidemic of, older generations, let's say boomer type, not being accepting of like having a rash or dry skin or these kind of things, and
exactly, it's terrible.
I'm really, really sorry to hear about all that.
And I actually have a foundation called the Lucy Jooce Foundation for kids who get kicked out of their house for having eczema, and I adopt them all.
Oh
wow!
You
Your
adopt?
foundation is just anyone who fits those requirements you adopt.
It's
I have
sort of an orphanage.
I have 60 adopted children that live outside on my farm and pick the celery I grow.
Oh wow! Yeah, so you have wild children.
Well, I just want these kids to feel accepted and loved, as I wasn't by my human parents. My elk parents were very kind.
And so you keep them sort of as like human cattle.
Oh, no. They do live in a barn, yes.
Yep.
And they do pick my celery for me, but I do pay them in love.
Yeah,
Okay.
and do they eat from a trough?
Well, it's not a trough per se. I guess it would be more of a big, boxed, round, deep plate.
It's like a tub.
It's like tapas. You know how you're sharing and you're kind of passing everything around with tapas?
Mm-hmm.
And then,
but that's the opposite because it's a small plate rather than a big plate. But a bunch of small plates, doesn't that equal a big plate?
Isn't that just the most profound thing I've ever heard?
This is the kind of science and education you're going to get from this podcast.
Well, I'm just going to have to listen.
okay, so it's great to hear about these great products, and that you lived with elk for 8 years, and that you later essentially started sort of an adoption. I guess you're a foster parent, more or less, with 60 children who
Yes.
you have them
Who
do the
roam.
work for you. Yeah.
Sounds like they roam quite a bit.
They do. And something I should have mentioned is all of them have not had an eczema outbreak in over a year.
Wow.
We're all cured. I'm telling you, Dr. Lennon. I know it sounds crazy. My doctor says that it's crazy, but you got to look at the results. I mean, I haven't had a rash in nigh on 3 years, and my 60 children, same thing, since they started living with me and eating celery.
And it really goes to show how close-minded the medical community can be, where they won't be open to these new ideas like, if you and your 60 children only have celery, of course it's going to get rid of your rashes. Like, that to me makes so much sense, and I feel like my mind is being open to an entire new category of health.
Yes, and the medical community does not want to talk about celery, and you know why? Is because it would put the topical steroid business completely out.
Should I throw up because I ate all that wheat earlier? I just feel like I know that it's just like toxic in my body.
Listen, I don't want to endorse throw up, but pooping it out would be just as helpful. You know, you know what you need?
Yeah, I'll see what I can do with that.
You need a cleanse.
What does that mean?
I have a book just on cleanses.
Because I took a shower like 2 days ago, so I know that I'm good. I'm clean.
So you got the external toxins washed off. Now it's time to shower your inside with celery juice.
I tried to do that once, and then I nearly drowned. So that is something that you want to like trying to like shower the inside of your body. And so I would just like open my mouth, and then it didn't work out great.
Well, that's because I don't have a chapter in my book on showering your insides. That was more of a metaphor. You know what I'm talking about, doctor. Metaphors. That's a big, you know.
I don't know that
all my knowledge is from the streets, so I don't know these kind of things.
Metaphor isn't like a medical term, if that's what you're trying to say. That's just a normal. You're speaking a different language there, Dr. Linden. No idea what you're talking about. Okay.
But I mean, so what is this cleanse? Like, what do I need to do?
All right. You got to give up all the grains, all the protein,
Done.
And you just got to, for 3 straight days, nothing but fruit. Okay? You can do a little avocado dip with plantain chips. Almost feels like you're having chips and dip.
Yep.
But plantains and avocado. That's my trick for this cleanse. Just 3 days of fruit. That's all.
And just any fruit? It doesn't matter any specifics?
Yes, but not tomatoes.
Oh.
Because that
because
crap is not a fruit.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought you were going to say, because you just disagree with it on principle. Okay.
Yeah, I'd get that.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, so Cameron, you can try this cleanse. And I think, for a few days, that doesn't sound like a bad idea. Like, it'd be fine for you to get, because normally Cameron is, he got this, how to describe it? He has a basket hanging from his neck normally, and he got some automated system where, like, he has a muzzle, and he'll scoop from the bag. It's filled with fried food of just various kinds with cheese dip to kind of fuse it all. So he gets his muzzle and he scoops just some of the food and straps that on, and then it's
a horse feed bag is what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well,
it's a horse feed bag. It's a thing you strap that has like different food in it. It's usually fried foods that I keep around my head all day long.
Yeah. Well, and he'll do this. The thing is, he'll do this during the podcast, and like we have hundreds of episodes that we haven't been able to use because he's just talking through his food the whole time.
Yeah.
That's disgusting. Honestly, I've only known you a few minutes, Cameron, but I wouldn't expect such things from you.
And it was really hard because it sort of conflicted with my sleep apnea machine to try to have both of them on. It was a nightmare.
I would like to see a photograph of that. That sounds bonkers.
It was miserable. I hated it.
Yeah, Cameron does frequently bring up, especially in the winter, he'll say like, well, layering is just super important to stay warm. And then he'll try to layer the feed bag and the sleep apnea machine. And I don't think the saying really applies to this.
It's just because
saying?
you're
just
saying?
dressing in layers. That's That's the term.
The saying, you never stack a sleep apnea machine on a horse feed bag.
Ah, yes. I think we learned that one in my English class when I was at school to become a nutritionist.
Oh, what school did you go to?
I went to Monterey Bay Community College for people who want to become nutritionists.
Is that last part something that you added?
No, that's the name of the school.
Oh, okay. Great. So it sounds like it is directed towards what you wanted to do. So that is something.
Exactly.
Well, I also like that it has basically an advertisement in its name.
Right.
It's like,
well, that's how I found them.
It's like telling you what's going on. I like that.
Yeah. It's a good old MCCPFWBN.
Right.
Love that school.
Oh,
I have
we
a
competed
sweatshirt
against
with that
them
on
in
it.
we competed against them in surfing.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I thought that was so
man.
cute, a surfing class for my PE requirement.
Yeah, that
got brutal. I remember.
I was about to say that was a really violent competition.
I went to that game and.
Yeah, that
like
match, that surfing match.
Well, yeah, because and I don't know if every side was aware, but I don't know which side it was, but one of them poisoned the water, both what the athletes were drinking and also the water they were surfing on.
They poisoned the Pacific Ocean?
Wow.
That's my understanding.
I didn't hear anything about this. This is crazy.
This is terrifying. I just drank a ton of the Pacific Ocean earlier today. Like a ton.
Oh,
This is not good.
Yeah, it's not the salt water, the tonicity of it is actually anyway. I feel like once again my medical jargon is going to go over someone's head. So maybe it's about time for us to I hate to do this while you're on the show, Associate.
Oh, don't do it. I know
Melanie
what you're going
Jooce.
to do.
But we have chores to do. And if you would help us with it. So we and Kevin, I don't know if you want to explain because I feel like people are getting lost in my words today.
Yeah, basically, like we got really busy because we had been playing a lot of like blackjack. We don't know how to play that game.
No,
but there's a fun variation where you
I heard it's all about
Jack
numbers.
Black impressions, and it's a lot of numbers, so you count them. Anyway, we were doing that for
counting, yelling out numbers.
We neglected a lot of our chores, a lot of our to-do lists. Like we have this, we haven't done laundry in forever. We haven't done the dishes in forever. There's a lot to do. We're trying to take care of it, especially in this new year. And so we built this fun chore wheel that we're going to go ahead and spin. Whatever it lands on, we have to do it. Even if we don't want to do it. Dr. London, if you don't want to do it, you still have to do it.
I still have to. And I don't mean that just I have to. I did sign something. You had me sign.
Yep.
And so legally I'm obligated to, and there is.
And if you don't, I'm going to leak your DMs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
He's gonna dox me is also, it's contractual. Wow. Anyway, so let's avoid that now.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's spin the thing.
Okay. And would you like the honors? Would you like to spin it?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Right. I just push down.
Yeah, and so and it's, I don't know if you can get a proper grip with your, but
I don't feel anything.
Yeah, so you'll just
use your eye. You have to use your eyesight for this one because since hands don't feel anything, you can't just you gotta. There we go,
okay,
and then
I
just.
think I'm touching it.
There.
Oh
no,
well,
not this one.
I guess it's probably a decent time for this one.
A little late.
A little late.
It's from last year, I think, but.
Yeah. But we've got to return our Christmas gifts that we hate.
Great.
Ooh, good.
Oh, you got some stuff you need to return too?
Yes, I have a box of chocolates that I have no use for.
Oh, yeah, you got to get rid of that. Taking up all that space.
All that space? Yeah, I got to get rid of this. And it's just disgusting. And I could never imagine doing that to my health.
Well, I appreciate that you brought it with you. And so you said this is from this Christmas, this past one, right?
Yes, just a month ago. And a month ago to the day, I believe. And I brought it just as a thank you re-gift to you two for having me on your show.
But now...
Oh, okay. So you're pawning off the chocolates you don't want to us?
Well, I was going to, but now legally I have to return them, I think.
That is true.
Yeah, that's true.
And
Otherwise,
also,
you're going to be doxxed.
Well, and, to our benefit, it does look as if you left it outside at the farm. It looks like it's been stomped upon quite a bit.
I was actually able to comment, some of these chocolates, you say you don't eat chocolate, but some of them look chewed on for sure.
Well, I have 60 curious children who I'm trying to teach how to be healthy, and they have days where they just don't get it.
But so y'all are just like chewing on chocolate and then spitting it out, so that way you're not.
Well, they start to chew it at it, and I'm like, "Stop it! Spit it out!" And I hit them on the back until they spit it out.
But you just still keep it around.
Well, in case I can find somebody who would enjoy it.
Yeah, Dr. Lennon, what are you returning?
Yeah, so I have this. I got this crate, and I'm not sure who it's from. It was a Secret Santa thing, and the limit was $1,300. So I didn't know. Then it was anywhere from $1,000 to $1,300 that you could spend on the gift, and so I got someone
normal Secret Santa stuff.
Yeah, so I got someone a bow tie, and I spent $15.
How much did that
on
cost?
It.
Oh,
15,
nice.
15,
yeah.
No, and it's a super cool tie. It's actually and I paid for. I'm trying to remember.
Does it spin?
It spins. That's what it's
nice.
And lights up, which I thought for $15 that is a steal.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was a really good deal. So they got that, and I got this crate that they had delivered to my house, and it's taller than me, and it grunts a lot, and I found to be
like the crate?
contents.
Have you opened the crate?
So here's the thing. So it has these holes in it that they look built-in air holes kind of thing. The thing is, the box came with a prod, like a cattle prod. So it's something electrical. So at first I thought that was the present, and I thought well, this is neat. I can
you
jokingly
can use this.
Shock my friends, right? But then the crate arrived right after. So I've been it's like one of those.
You've just been sticking the cattle prod through the air holes.
Yeah, it's like the chocolates. I don't know what to do with it right now. So
have you opened the box?
Yeah, why haven't you opened the box?
Well, I tried poking at it with the cattle prod, and that didn't open. I didn't know. I guess I'm not a handyman. I don't know how to do everything.
You don't know how to open the box is the issue.
Well, okay. So, and one thing I should clarify
those
for
book
listeners.
smarts again, yeah.
So it didn't have a ribbon on it for me to you pull at to untie. It didn't have tape for me to pull off. None of it. I tried pushing at parts of it, and there's no wrapping paper. So no, I was super confused, and I'm on your side here. It doesn't make sense, but but it has these holes in it, so I keep on poking at it, and it has been, so I guess it's been a
making?
month. It says
It says? What do you mean it says?
Oh, it says stop it and help me.
Whoa.
We need to get a crowbar in here, a normal person, and rip that box open and save whoever's inside.
That sounds very crazy, because a crowbar, I've had crows before, but to actually have them gather together to drink,
oh my God.
It does.
Cameron, how do you do it?
It's impossible to deal with this guy. I mean, okay, doctor. So wait, who are you returning it to? Do you, or I guess the person who gave it to you as a Secret Santa?
It was a very Secret Santa.
Oh gosh, what does that mean?
So I got a letter in the mail months ago, and it was telling me all about this Secret Santa. It was just. I guess they didn't say Santa, but they said a whole bunch of stuff about we'll exchange this and that, and I was oh great, this sounds wonderful. So and I knew the holidays were coming up, and that if I got ahead of it, then I would have a present ready, and I would be able to get what I got, which is an on sale bow tie that spins and lights up. So I know I played my part right, and so I was wrote them back. I was like, I'm so down. I'm game. Let's do this. And so,
and it can be hard to shop for gifts. You know what I mean? It's hard to get someone exactly what they want.
And for one thing, I get it. And that's why I haven't like tried mailing them again or calling or, I haven't like, they've sent some messengers by, but I haven't like, I haven't been rude.
Dr. London, you might have a missing person, a kidnapped person in that box in your house, and somebody just pawned them off on you. What a perfect hiding place to a man's house who can't open a box.
Yeah. In exchange for a bow tie, they seem to accepted that as payment with no questions.
Oh,
we gotta get that box open.
Well,
we are not returning this present. We are taking it to the police.
We should at least throw some food in there. Like at the bare minimum you should be throwing stuff in there.
Here's the thing. Just to clarify one point, the bow tie did come back to me in the mail. I forgot to mention this earlier. So it said like, that the address wasn't right or something. That return to sender thing. So anyway, so I should try to return this, but I realized that address is wrong. So I'm
calling the police right now on my cell phone. They've been in there for over a month. Are they even still alive? Can a person live that long in a box?
And I don't do Secret Santa a lot. I don't play this game much, so I don't know if that's part of it. But
and the rules are there's sort of regional variations of it too.
I have to assume. Look, and like I've played Secret Santa when I was little. I don't remember the whole game, but I could swear that there were less cattle prods involved. Like maybe there was a taser. There might have been a taser, but I don't remember there being a full-length cattle prod. So that's new to me, and I'm thinking I want to learn to play this game, so I will continue to. And so the boxes unlabeled those. Anyway, I feel like I'm going on too much, and
should I talk about what I'm returning?
Yeah, if you could.
Yeah, I'm returning my son. I think we've had a good run, and he's pretty good at baseball, which is cool. I think besides that, and he's cool, but like we don't like vibe super well.
But was he given to you?
I mean, in a way, he was given to me via the miracle of life.
Yeah, birth. Yeah.
Yeah.
So was he? How old is he now?
He's 19.
Yeah. So
I'm just gonna take him back to the hospital and then say, y'all
send him back.
Do whatever you want. This is your thing. Okay. He seems down with it too. I want to just throw that out there. He's totally fine with living at the hospital. He's already started calling all doctors and nurses mommy and daddy. Okay. I mean, I feel like it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and it's time to return my son back to his home, his real home, the hospital, where he was born.
You can also look up the Lucy Jooce Foundation for Unwanted Children, and maybe your son could come work and pick some celery on my farm.
That is super interesting too. That could be it. He does like picking things. He's always like just picking at things. So that could be good. Put that to use.
Just grabbing. He's handsy is what you've described him as in the past.
I feel like handsy implies that like he's grabbing people, but it's not that. It's more
just like in
everything
the store.
Always. He's just kind of flailing around grabbing.
Yeah.
And that's just what he does day to day. I would say that's honestly probably the most annoying thing about him, and is why I'm trying to ship him off.
Well, so this might be a chance for him to grow as a person. And, I know he's thinking hospital, but, it's college age. So, anyway, as long as he goes to, kind of live life on his own, maybe being away from you would be a good idea just to help him grow a little bit, to grow apart, to grow together again later, possibly.
Again, it's the vibe. It's so off. Like, I just don't see that happening.
Okay.
Well, I would love to meet him.
Yeah, I mean,
I could have 61 children. What's one more?
If you meet him, you're gonna know, because anything you have in your house, he's gonna be running around grabbing every single thing, and you're gonna be like, oh, I think that's the kid. We just call him the boy, the kid, whatever.
These chocolates. The boy.
Yeah.
The boy who likes chocolate, half chewed chocolate. He can have my chocolate.
I honestly don't know like a ton about him because like again like we're cool.
Talk, yeah.
We're cool in groups, but like one-on-one, like it's just like a different vibe. You know what I mean? But like super cool in groups and stuff, and like a group hang.
Yeah, you've told me you won't bring him on a date, but you'll bring him on a group date.
Yeah, if it's like a group hang, then yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But it's just like one-on-one. It's like, oh, like what do we even have to talk about? Like, I don't even know anything about this guy.
Because you've said it's not even just the one-on-one. Like if it's 3 people, like if it's you going on a date with someone, then if he's there, it gets really awkward because he just sits there and grabs at stuff.
Yeah,
and, like,
he's just constantly grabbing everything.
Yeah.
And it's mostly food stuff, which gets pretty nasty.
Yeah.
He's grabbing my quesadilla with a fist, and then he's just like squeezing it. If you got a calzone, that's shooting pizza stuff everywhere. It's a whole issue.
And then if he's reaching into your horse mask, that's gross.
He knows not to do that because he'll get a bite. Because it's once that thing is on, my my jaw movement is automatic. I just start going hom 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 hom.
Yeah, it is like a masher, like a I don't know, like one of those giant machines. In any case, I feel like I
think it's like a hungry hippo.
Okay, no, I guess that is more accurate.
Or Mrs.
There's
Pac-Man.
like a scooping situation also. Your head does go out a little bit for it.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, I feel like we've about done that chore.
I think we did.
Like
DJ Dylan, let's
get our gifts.
Give it an old. We just did that chore jingle.
Well, all right. So I feel like that's a good time to wrap it up. So, anyway, thank you, Associate Melanie Jooce. Associate Melanie Lucy Jooce, for being on.
Thank you, Dr. London. This has been so much fun getting to know you two, learning about street smarts and book smarts.
Yeah, and hopefully,
I feel close to you.
That's great.
I feel like I've learned a lot today about celery and a little bit of lemon.
Wow.
Those are the main 2 things. And a website where to go to get a juicer.
Yeah, speaking of which, if there's any way for listeners to follow you after this, to get more of your product.
Oh, yes, please. Associate Melanie Lucy Jooce.com. Easy enough on social media at Associate Melanie Lucy Jooce.
All right.
And also, you know who I want to talk about? My eldest daughter, adopted daughter. Her name's Kayla Teel. She's a, quote, comedian. So cute. You can find her on Instagram at K-E Teel, T-E-E-L. She would get a kick out of this.
That's awesome that she finds time to do that in between picking all that celery.
Well, she's starting to... Yeah, she's starting to fly the coop. I let her out to do her little bits and giggles.
As long as she's back home to get some celery, then, that's okay.
That's what I say.
All right. Well, thank you to our producer, Cameron. Thank you to Digital in the House.
I hereby, and with my associate's degree, diagnose you, Dr. London, with a deficiency in street smarts.
Digital in the House. Digital in the House.
Roasted.
I went to Monterey Bay Community College for people who want to become nutritionists. It's a good old MCCPFWB. Love that school. I have a sweatshirt with that on.
So take that, vitamins. I take celery. And seaweed from the North Atlantic Ocean.
My name is Dr. LondonSmith.com, and this has been the Jock Doc Podcast.
See ya.
bucket is full of mustard. You push it back a little with your toe, remembering what your dentist had warned you with regard to mustard's ability to stain teeth. Your teeth shudder at the thought, or perhaps the cold. At this point, it is difficult to discern the culprit of such an action. When your friends had bantered about stealing mustard packets so you would never run out, you laughed along. When they suggested emptying all the packets into one big bucket and then placing said bucket into the middle of the dining table to eat, you forced a few chuckles. But for every one of those jokes, you could sense an air of truth, of genius. What you did not anticipate was that when you took it a step further and simply tossed your food into the mustard bucket, the food would be difficult to find. And it would also undergo a slight change in both flavor and consistency. But you've put it off long enough. It is either time to count those meals, all 12 of them, as lost, or pour the collection into a blender and then funnel it all down your gullet. Why, oh why, did you have to choose this as your New Year's resolution? Speaking of resolving to make the world a little better, don't forget to leave a 5-star review of the Jock podcast in which you share about the times when you have transformed your meals into bucket form. And consider joining our Patreon, where we have new episodes that ditch the medical lessons to give you a hefty dose of improvised comedy. And while you're at it, go ahead and share the Jock podcast with a friend or foe. You can send them a link to your favorite episode, or just send them our handy website, jockdogpodcast.com, which is also where you can find a link to that Patreon. And don't forget to take a peek at our posts on social media. We are at Jock Podcast. Thanks for listening.